Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from Jenny Card Designs. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting, tutorials, and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. In today's video, I've got a few cards from the Concord 9th Brighter Days release. I've created 4 rainbow cards with 1 stamp and die set. So let's start with the first project, and it is a Slimline card. Starting with the Brighter Days stamp and die set, I'll be using this stamp and die set for all of my projects today. So this is a wonderful layering sort of stamp set. It gives you a chance to make multicolor rainbows, and it's got a bunch of clouds, a sentiment, a sun, some raindrops and hearts, and it's a really cute stamp set and very versatile. And I'm going to showcase just how versatile this stamp set is in my video today. Now, I've got some templates in my template reference book, and I'm going to be grabbing some measurements from my Slimline card layers. And I'm also going to be grabbing the measurements for a card and an envelope from my reference book as well. And if you haven't seen any of these templates before, then I'll link to a video that showcases the templates and where you can get them. Okay, so I've got a couple of cardstock sheets. I'm going to start with the black cardstock. I'm going to create some matte layers using my Slimline card measurements. I'm going to be cutting layers that measure 8 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut a bunch of those up so I have them for this project and for futures. For this particular project, I need 1 for the inside and 1 for the outside. So for the white layer, the stamping layer, I'm going to cut some panels that measure 8 by 3. I've got a bunch of stamping layers and a matte layer, and I'm just checking to make sure everything lines up. And once I'm happy with those, I'm going to set them off to the side, and I'm going to open up my Gemvelope templates, and I'm looking for the Slimline template, and I'm going to work through the steps to create a Slimline envelope and card. And in the back of my reference book, I keep little samples of the envelope and the card as well. Sometimes I forget the measurements of the card because I don't make this card very often. It's sort of new to my repertoire of cards. So the Slimline card piece of cardstock measures 7 1/2 by 8 3/4. And then let's start with cutting the cardstock for the card. Now I've got some beautiful Gina K Designs Apple Mint cardstock. And if you're in Canada, I will link to where you can get this cardstock here in Canada. Also, if you're in the United States, I'll link to Gina K's website as well. So I'm going to cut this by 7 1/2 and 8 3/4. And then I'll set this aside and pull in my scoreboard. Now don't throw away any of these scraps. We're going to use up what we can throughout this video. It's always good to save your scraps for little sentiments and things like that. So I've got a full sheet of cardstock for my envelope and the sheet that I've cut out for my Slimline card. And I'm going to grab 2 layers of black and 2 layers for stamping of white, and I'll set the rest of these aside for another project. And we'll start by scoring the card. So I'm going to take my scoreboard and I'll line this piece of cardstock up into the top left corner and score at 3 3/4 on the 7 1/2 inch side. And then I'm going to crease my fold, and that's going to give me my Slimline card. I just want to check my layers, make sure everything lines up and is straight and even and perfect. Now let's go over to the envelope. So I'm just going to follow the steps on my template reference, and I'm going to create all of the score marks as shown in the diagrams, and I'll leave a link in the description of the video here below where you can find links to download these templates so that you can make them for yourself. So once my score marks are done, I'm going to grab a pair of sharp scissors and start making my cuts as directed in my template reference. And I'll get everything cut up, and then I'll crease all of the folds. And then sometimes I find the bottom closing flap, sometimes you need to trim just a little hair off of the bottom just to help close it a little bit better. It removes some of that bulk and sort of anything that's getting in the way so the envelope can close smoothly. Okay, I'm going to add my adhesive to the larger flap on the side of the envelope so that I can fold it over and close it. I'll use my bone folder to press all of the adhesive in. And I'm going to grab my little 1/2 inch circle punch and punch a little finger notch into the top of this envelope. And then I'll grab my corner rounder and round the corners on the envelope, and then add a little bit of adhesive to the closing part of the envelope, and we won't remove that until we're ready to send our card away. And that's it for the envelope. We've got a perfect coordinating card and envelope set. So now let's head over to the MISTI, and we're going to get some stamping done. So I've grabbed one of those slimline layers, and I grabbed this little cloud from the Brighter Days stamp set. I stamped that with Gina K Softstone ink. And then I also stamped some of the little raindrops coming from the clouds. Now it's hard to see on camera because my lighting has really blown out any of the light colors. I stamped that with Gina K Designs Ocean Mist. All right, now we're going to start stamping this rainbow. So I've got it loaded up onto the door of my MISTI and making sure I'm happy with that. I'm not sure why I put the cardstock in the middle of the MISTI. To make your life easier, put it down in the bottom corner. It just, save yourself the headache. I don't know what I was thinking. So I stamped this gorgeous rainbow in Gina K Designs Ocean Mist, Apple Mint, Sweet Corn, and Peach Bellini. I took another piece of layering cardstock and I stamped the sentiment, "Sending sunshine and rainbows," for the inside of this card. I figured we'd just get all of the stamping done at the same time. So I also stamped a bunch of little hearts on the inside as well. But again, the lighting doesn't allow you to see. At the end of the video, I'll show you a close-up and you can really see what I've done. So I also want to share with you my little tip for cutting dies apart. Now, sometimes you'll find dies are already cut and detabbed. These ones aren't. So I just have a little pair of wire snips and I grab a baby wipe. And this is the trick to this. I grab a baby wipe and I take my sharp snips and I sort of line it up to wherever I want to cut. And then I put my hand over it and place it over top of the baby wipe and snip. And then that baby wipe catches that little metal as it flings off. And there's no bounce back, nothing goes flying. So this is the safest way to cut apart these dies. I think it's a really neat trick, and I think I learned that from Jennifer McGuire's video. Maybe everything all of us have learned have at some point come from a Jennifer McGuire video. So I do that and I find it works very, very well. So now we're going to move back over to this card. We're going to get some die cutting done. I put the sentiments on some black cardstock that say "Oh Happy Day," and I get those cut out along with a blue glitter cloud. And once everything's cut out, I decided I wanted a little sun peeking in behind my clouds. So I didn't want to cut multiple pieces of cardstock or anything like that. So I used my scraps and I grabbed my Sweet Corn ink and my Peach Bellini ink and I just rubbed those into my cardstock. And I just created a little bit of a gradient. I ran that through my die cut machine. And then I took some scissors and cut out that little half circle that was left behind in the piece of cardstock, because I wanted that to be sort of filled in, and then I'll hide it in behind my cloud. So I'm happy with that. I like the way this is looking so far. I'm going to adhere down my sun, and then I'm going to glue my little cloud over top of it. And then I also cut out some little glittered raindrops out of the same color cardstock as that little cloud. And I just adhered those falling from one of the clouds. And then I grabbed a couple of alcohol markers and just sort of colored in my clouds just to give them a little bit, just to add some more color to my project. I just felt like there was too much white. So I'm going to go back to the scraps again. I've got some of that scrap Apple Mint cardstock, and I'm going to glue that behind my sentiments, "Oh Happy Day." Now there's the letters from this cutout. We're going to save those letters. And now what I've done is the little innards of the A and the P for these letters were stuck in the die. So I just put a little bit of adhesive down where the little pieces sort of are supposed to be, and then I took the die, popped it over top of my die cut, and used my little pokey tool to press those pieces into the glue. It was just easier than trying to fuss with it and figure out where it was supposed to go. So I add some foam tape to the back of those, and then I'm going to glue this panel down to the black matte piece of cardstock that we've got. So I'm just kind of figuring out the placement for my sentiment. And I used my bone folder to sort of help me create a straight line because I was a little bit lazy. I didn't want to get up and go get a ruler. So my bone folder was right beside me. I slapped it on my cardstock, lined up my sentiment, adhered everything down to my card base, grabbed my inside sentiment, glued it down, and that's it. I know that sounds like a lot, but it really was a fun and easy card to make. And I think it's just perfect. Everything coordinates together. You get this beautiful, bright and happy pop of color on the front of your card. And slimline cards are so popular now, and they're so much fun to make. It's nice to make something a little bit different and sort of out of the box. Okay, let's jump into project number 2. It's going to be a bright rainbow. I'm going to use the same little rainbows from the stamp set. I've grabbed a piece of cardstock and I've loaded it up into my mini Misty, and I'm going to grab those little rainbows. I've decided to go with a different color palette for this card. So I'm going to start by stamping the rainbows. Again, I'll stamp one at a time. I'm going to do a landscape card for this one. And I've grabbed a bunch of bright Gina K inks. I've got Blue Raspberry, Lucky Clover, Tangerine Twist, and Passionate Pink. And I think that makes for a really bright and fun rainbow. I then went to my stash and pulled out some rainbow cardstock. I wasn't sure what I wanted to use until I saw this checkered gray pattern, and I thought that's going to be perfect. So I cut that down, and then I went back to my trimmer and I trimmed up my rainbow a little bit so that we saw a little bit more of that background. And I still felt it was too soft. I wanted something to jump out. So I grabbed some black cardstock. This is the best way to make your colors pop. So I matted my rainbow behind black cardstock, and then I thought, hey, why not? Let's do the check pattern too. So I adhered some black cardstock to that. And then just for a little bit extra, I wanted to put some craft foam behind this rainbow. And I thought, this is perfect. I'm happy with that. I'm going to set that aside, and I'll come back to adhering everything later. I grabbed some Simon Says Stamp glitter cardstock, and I love this cardstock. The glitter doesn't come off. You can die cut the heck out of that cardstock, and not one little sparkle falls off. So I love that cardstock. I cut out a couple of clouds from it, and now I'm going to go back to my panel. I decided I wanted to stamp some clouds, and I used that Gina K Designs soft stone ink. And I stamped a couple of clouds, and then I went back to the little raindrops, and I stamped the little raindrops. Oh, and I also stamped a sentiment inside of the cloud that says brighter days are ahead, and I used Gina K Black Onyx ink for that. I used an alcohol marker, and I colored in that cloud just a little bit, just to give it a little bit of depth. And then I adhered this rainbow to my black layer, and I thought, I'm not done. I still want some more. I felt like it just wasn't enough. I adhered all the layers and all the panels together, thinking that I was finished with the card. And then, you know, sometimes you get like these last minute ideas. That's me. I'm a last minute Larry. I don't even know what that means. So I adhere this down to my panel. I popped up those silver clouds, and I thought it just needs a little something. So I grabbed those hearts, and I just stamped in a rainbow all those little hearts down in a row using the same colors I used in my rainbow, kind of to create like some motion. So it looks like the rainbow is like flying in off of this cloud of glittery silver, glitter puffy cloud rainbow heart things. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I love this card. I love rainbows. This release blew my mind. When I saw it come out, I had to have it. And there's another product in this release I'm going to create a whole new video with, and it's going to blow your mind also. If you haven't seen it already, I'm talking about the Turnabout Rainbow. That's another video. Okay, back to the card. I grabbed the envelope, and I used a coordinating color green envelope. I stamped a little sentiment on the flap that says sending sunshine and rainbows, and I put a little bit of those hearts around, and I thought, that's it. It's finishing touch. This card's complete. All right, moving on to project number 3. I have got the most wicked array of Distress Oxide ink rainbows. I've got some smooth cardstock. This is Gina K Designs Pure Luxury White cardstock. It's awesome for blending oxides in. It's so smooth. I've got all these colors in a rainbow. I will list them here on screen for you because I can't speak as fast as I can blend, apparently. So I'm going to list those for you. I create this beautiful rainbow. I just kind of go back over with the oxides to make sure they're blended nicely. I spray a little bit of water, and then I pick up any excess with my dirty rag there. I use my heat gun to make sure this is all dry so that I can heat emboss on it. I grab my bone folder to help me sort of combat some of that warping from the blending and the water and the heat. And then, of course, what else should you do but back a rainbow on black cardstock? This is like, what is it? It's like peas and carrots, and it's like Forrest and Jenny, you know? Like rainbows and black cardstock, they just go together. All right. So I stamped this sentiment that says sunshine and rainbows. I'm having such a hard time saying that today. I used that same glitter cardstock. I cut out this glittery sunrise die from the set. I thought that looked beautiful. And then I backed it onto some white craft foam. Now I have a little trick for you for this white craft foam. Sometimes it doesn't look good, right? Sometimes you can see it in behind. So what I like to do is take some black alcohol marker and I just sort of color the edge of the white craft foam. And then I glue it all down, and then it looks like it's not even there. It looks like it's part of that black cardstock shadow. So it's hidden and it looks totally awesome. So I adhered everything together. I'll show you a close-up shot of that so that you can see what I'm talking about when I get there. I got ahead of myself. Typical. If you're anything like me, you're worried about those Distress Oxide inks at the top of the screen. It's like, is she ever going to put the lids back on those inks? I don't know. We'll have to see. Okay, moving on to project number 4. I've got one more Oxide Rainbow for you. I had a little bit of issue with my recording, so bear with me. I lost a little piece of footage, but I'm just going to kind of show you where I started and where I ended up when we lost the middle. So I've got the same rainbows that I've been using. I've got a piece of cardstock, and I'm going to pat the heck out of my anti-static powder bag, so much so that I had to speed through it at like 8 times speed. And then I'll stamp my Gina K Designs embossing and watermark ink over top of this rainbow, sprinkle it with alabaster embossing powder, and heat set that with my heat tool. Okay, so that's about all I have for that card. So I used the exact same rainbow blend. You know, the next level, most amazing rainbow blend you've ever seen. Yeah, that's the one. And then I used some of these little vase filler gems that I have in my stash that looks like water droplets. Coolest thing ever. I have a billion of those in this little container that I paid $5 for. I shared it in one of my Crafty Finds videos. I'll link to that if you're interested. So that's it. Here are my rainbow cards. I know we sort of like whipped through them in this video. The video could have been longer. I probably could have went at this for an hour just going on about rainbows, and they're my thing. I love a good rainbow. I love a bright rainbow. I love a soft rainbow. I love anything rainbow. And while I've been home in quarantine, I have been going mental buying rainbow things because they just keep coming out and I can't help myself. So here's a look at all the cards I made here today. The Oh Happy Day card. I love, 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 love. I've already given this card away for someone's birthday, and I'm sad about that. I have to remake it so that I can have one for myself because I love it so much. And then the Brighter Days Are Ahead rainbow card. I really love that checkered pattern paper pack. It's got a bunch of different rainbows. I think it's from Lawn Fawn. I'm not sure. If I can find it, I will link it in the description below. And then moving on to the Oh Happy Day Distress Oxide Rainbow. Now, if you'll notice, the Oh Happy Day, the black letters, I forgot to mention, I took those from the first card. Those were the random pieces I had left. I used a ruler just to help me line up the letters and glued those down. Okay, and then here is the close-up look of the craft foam that I was talking about. I colored in that craft foam. You'll never know it was behind there. Super duper top secret tip. Beautiful. Okay, so, you know, we could just keep talking about rainbows. Let's talk about some rainbows. What is your favorite inks for rainbows? You know, I love Distress Oxide inks and I love Gina K Designs. I have more of those inks than I have anything else. I've actually started my Ultinew collection, and I don't know, there's going to be some pretty awesome rainbows with that coming out soon. Maybe I'll do some rainbow flowers. Maybe that's next. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with crazy old me. I am truly thankful for over 2,000 subscribers. What? That's amazing. Thank you again for being here. I love everybody. Of course I love everybody. You guys are amazing. You're so generous and kind with your thoughtful words and comments, and I read every single one of them. Don't think that I don't, because I do. Okay, thanks so much for being here. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!